Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. Happy early Thursday morning for those on Pacific Coast. It's before sunrise, and color is just barely entering the sky, and the birds are already chirping. And I thought this morning we would practice together. Yesterday, I was doing a morning practice, and which I don't always have occasion to do, but I think I have the intention of doing it every day in the morning like I used to. And I thought, wow, this would be great if everyone was here and we could all do it together, not every morning, mind you, but that I could guide you a little bit of what unfolds for me. When I was taught historically, you give people guidance and the instruction, but you don't say too much about how it unfolds and allow people to sort of discover for themselves. There are a lot of strengths for that method. However, I've noticed a lot of my friends or acquaintances got a little lost sometimes, and it took longer. It's like if somebody doesn't kind of show a way of being, what's possible, things that may occur, things that at least that particular person has experienced, how they go about it after doing it for many years, and what they sort of experience. It helps guide people. It helps guide people who are beginning and even people who have been further along. I personally find it very inspiring when I go to old texts and I see descriptions of things that are possible. And sometimes I'm like, wow, that's really out there. And then I get little tastes of it and I realize I'm on the right road, so to speak. I kind of felt like it would be really good for me to explain how a practice sort of unfolds for me, and as I'm going about it, while we all pray together, and occasionally just explain kind of what I'm doing, different stretches, how my body's feeling, what my experience is with energy, to kind of guide. For some people, this might be for the future. Like I've heard teachings or read things, and months later, or a year or two later, or 3 or 4 years later, I'm like, where is that? I'm experiencing that. Where is that teaching? And sometimes I remember, or sometimes I have to dig for it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God I heard it, a while back, because this is perfect. And it's there waiting for you. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't think, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling this. Oh, this is like, what's this, right? Leave an open mind. I'm sharing what I'm experiencing. People may experience different things currently or in the future, and you honor where you are but it kind of shows you what's possible in the human body and in one's awareness. And it kind of shows like a gate, a path. And then it also makes you understand why we do things a certain way, an understanding of the order we do things, like kind of, a little this and then to that, and it's the stages, so to speak. Correct? And I thought it would be helpful and as well as very beautiful, because when we all practice together and do the same thing and bring in Adonai, bring in God, there's a powerful connection. Even though we're not in the same room, with the beauty of technology, we're using the internet, Facebook, I guess even Wi-Fi to get to the internet. Going through our computers, we are linked in real time. There's an energetic link through my voice, through the connection, through going through a live or recorded thing through Facebook, through YouTube, and even when it's saved on your hard drive, and I hope people are saving these, sort of building your archive, so to speak, in your computer and your thing in your cloud, but in your hard drive, so you make sure you always have it in the future if you choose to look for it, and it's for some reason not on Facebook, on YouTube, you have it. And when you listen, there's also that connection there to a teaching, and it remains alive. It's possible. It's real, trust me. So, and it has that freshness and that current which inspires, but also has a certain energetic thing to it that helps and assists us in a conscious or subconscious way. So this morning we're going to practice, and then I'm going to try to overlay guidance as we move along. Also, just adjust the volume so my voice doesn't come out too loud. I'm going to try to say things in a softer voice, but with a microphone, you need to adjust your own settings so you could hear me, but it also doesn't shock you out of your prayer. And remember, people listening, the people just starting, these people who have done their own practice in different traditions or even in the Jewish tradition. And then there's people who are quite advanced that I would love to learn from. Right? So there's the whole gambit. So this is going to run the whole gambit. And I think it's going to be really beautiful. Yesterday, not to, I hate sharing about myself because it's often, sometimes more private, especially my personal practice, but I don't want it to be like showing off or anything. But it helps to show. So pardon me when I show. So like it was over an hour and a half, and it was just wonderful and just going through, and I didn't want to stop. So that's very much practice with time. When you're able to get into that connection, the struggle goes away. And actually it's so beautiful and amazing. When you have to stop to go to work, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I can go on for a while longer. So that sweet spot does exist, and I wanted to make that clear when, at the beginning, it's a struggle. I used to struggle 10 minutes, 15. I'm like, oh my God. And I felt like the Pinto, my car shaking. And I'm like, am I going to be able to go any longer? And then you kind of break through that wall, that sort of barrier, right around that time, 15, 20, 17 minutes. And then boom, you're in that space. And that's the power of mantra. Because if you go into mantras, you're not in that stillness when we do. And that's a good practice to have with the breath and bringing your mind back. That brings discipline to the mind, which translates to mantra. It translates to the aleph, translates to visualization, translates to having better focus in your life, your everyday life. So that is essential to do, and bring that in to create that stability and your ability to be present and not lost in thoughts. And you can create a stability that stays, where you go through life in more awareness and less in thoughts and thinking. And masters of old lived in pure awareness. Yet it was also very much them. One of my teachers definitely lived in pure awareness, though he would never admit it. And he was cracking jokes all the time. And some of which were really funny, some of which were more to him, but his laughter filled the room. And his personality. So it's not that you become muted. You actually become more of yourself, interestingly enough. We all walk around a little bit with dulled colors through everything that weighs us down. When we do this, we uncover ourselves, become like peacocks. Those birds, the big plumage of the beautiful greens and those feathers that come out and all those colors, purple of the neck, it's a peacock in English. We become like that, just gorgeous colors and vibrant and luminous. It's part of the beauty when we do these practices. But when we do mantras, it enables to us to drop in very quickly into that space, because we're using a vibration, sacred vibration. And that anchors our mind, because we are saying a sound. As well, if we are in front of our prayer space, visually we're anchored, though sometimes we close our eyes, and I'll be describing sort of the process I'm going through today. Though yesterday was yesterday, and tomorrow might be a very different thing. We have different modalities, different names of God to use, different combinations of names of God. We have the Aleph, and we have meditation. So it intersperses. You could change these things throughout depending on what you need in that moment as you go through your practice. So it's not static. It doesn't sit still. It's actually very, very vibrant. And we're able to adapt to how we're feeling, how our mind is discursive, unable to focus, scattered in thoughts. Oh, today, or what happened yesterday was completely normal, and it happens to me. Or thinking of some religious thing, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Or I could tell them about this. And sometimes I have a little recorder and I say it. Or sometimes I'm like, you know what? If I'm meant to say it, I will remember at the end, because I'm not interrupting my practice. And there's a discipline of knowing when to write, to say something in a recorder, or write down a few notes to jar, right? And also no, I'm not indulging in that, because if you overindulge in that and you give yourself excuse, it is a form of being discursive and lost in thought. However, really good it is, but then also you learn you don't want to lose wisdom. So there's that dance between the two. So I wanted to just say very quickly and briefly, because I am not going to overspeak. I just made it very clear to myself, I am not going to spend the whole time talking about things, but this is about practice, and we're going to hop in. There was just a few things about the teaching I gave a week and a half ago on prayer beads, and how to make them, and like I mentioned, different stones, like crystal mineral stones that you can buy, or wood that you could use to make them. Now, prayer beads are not for everyone. You don't feel called, don't. It's just a little something, a little zesty I would bring in, because I found myself grabbing one that I had made a year ago, which I hadn't used as much as I thought. And there it was waiting for me. I felt very called to get a certain type of stone, and one that I've never used before. And I made it, and then it just sat there. And I'm like, this is really beautiful. I wish I used it more. But the names of God, I was doing a sort of different practice every day. And now look, it was there waiting for me. I grabbed it, and now I love it. And now I'm using it every single time. It helps anchor you. It brings in the power, and it could be very healing. It's a tool of healing as well. And I'll be bringing you, sharing with you how I'm using it to heal myself and things going on in my body, and to give you an example of how it can be used. All right? But I wanted... Sorry, I'm looking for a different glasses that I have on. The joys of growing a little older. You know, one pair of glasses isn't enough. You need two for up close reading, and also another one for a computer. But, you know, at least we have glasses. So thank you for that technology. So I'm going to quickly go through a few points really fast. So I mentioned how many to get in case there's some broken or discolored. Now, we're using 72. I was thinking of a different number. So if you need one for 72, which we should have prayer beads that are 72. All right, that's, if anything, I like to say, let's keep it at 72. It anchors us in our tradition. There are other numbers. Those are different traditions. So when we see something that really works in another tradition that's helpful, we adapt it. Might be like, wow, there's something. I've studied a lot of different things. Let me hopefully moderate what we should do, because there's things that aren't so good in other traditions. And, you know, I hope you'll follow my guidance and just be careful that if there's something in a tradition you came from that's helpful to you and you're using, well, you know, doesn't mean you have to leave it behind, but you have to make sure that fundamentally it's anchored in, you know, in Adonai and the Torah, or works within this modality. Yes? So 72, please make it 72. Okay, 72 names of God. Okay? So for 72, you might want to get around, 95 to 100 beads. Okay. That's what I found in 72. Maybe about 20%, 15 to 20% that really aren't usable or the wrong size. Okay. Because we can't quite find 9 millimeter for men, which is ideal for men. Women, a little luckier, 8 millimeter might work for them, and 7 millimeter might work for them. If somebody has more petite hands, maybe 6 millimeter, go to a bead store, find your size. I'm not going to recover what I already did. If you purchase a bead or something pre-made online, even if, you send them a thing and you ask them to make it 72 and you describe what you want and they send it to you. All right. Cut the string. I know. I know. You don't want to. Here's the thing. You don't know the person. Prayer beads are very sacred, and they need to be adapted to your tradition. You're using the names of God. Making a prayer bead is a very sacred prayerful act. You should do it in front of your prayer space, has the candle lit and incense up. I'll get a little more into that. Cutting a prayer bead releases the energy of the person who made it, their intent, what they infused on it. Might be sweetness and light, or may not be. So, okay, then regardless of where you get your beads, they should be cleansed before. So if it's look online, look at the crystal book, see how that particular bead needs to be cleansed. I once cleansed turquoise, sadly, in water with salt in it overnight. You don't do that to turquoise. They quite haven't ever recovered. They became a little faded, and I'm still sad to this day. So quartz, on the other hand, take really well to that. So, but running water always works. A little sage or copal. I'm going to speak about copal maybe a little bit next week. But something to clear them, dry them. Okay? Then they're cleansed. The energy is then of the stone and nothing else. So they're ready to get the energy you bring into them and the energy of the names of God. And then they become blessed and empowered through that. So they're no longer a stone. And whatever frequency they have, take on also the characteristics of your prayer. So it's the qualities of the stone plus your prayer, your intent, infused with the vibration of Elohim. Yes? So you have a clean working matter in front of you. Regardless of where you get it, they're just strings not put together. You cut the strings and out comes 50. They come in stacks. Or, from someone else. You see beautiful things online. Oh, this is really great. Beautiful stone. Well, great. You found it. Cut the string. Okay? If you use, you string it. If you don't need an elastic because it fits properly around your neck as you kind of, twist it over so it's like I need 3 rows. It doesn't quite fit, so I have to use an elastic string. And there's good ones. It's a white one. I think it's 0.8 millimeter. It stretches, but it doesn't break. It hurts. It holds its form. If you don't need one that stretches, which is ideally, I would try to make it initially with one that doesn't stretch and see if that works for you, because that's the optimal solution. There is something called pearl strings. Very, very, very strong. It's what you string pearls with. It's not expensive, and it comes in like 25 very beautiful colors. So you could put the color that you wish. Color has energy. So make sure it works with the energy and the vibration of your stone. You do not want to change the color of the stone because of the string that's underneath. So if you're using white quartz, the string really needs to be white. There are sacred colors, like blue in Judaism's very sacred. Find what works. I've used citrine, sort of yellow quartz, very strong for manifestation and also clearing. And I found a beautiful orange string. So it works with the stone I'm keeping in similar frequencies. Okay? So, yeah. So that's that. So, so I wanted to say, they stretch. You're going to create, if you put it on straight out of the thing, straight out of the bundle of string, and you start working with it, it will stretch. It will stretch too far that you're not able to move the beads in a easy way. There'll be too much of a gap. So remember, when we move a bead, it's on top of the hand. It's done with right hand, and you're using your thumb, whether your left thumb or your right thumb. And in a circular motion, you sort of move up. And when it's on the top of the bead between the two, your thumb pushes it down towards the thumb. And then it's kind of turns clockwise. Clockwise, up and down. So it's a swirling motion, a circular motion of the thumb. And it's very easy. And with time, believe me, it could move really, really fast. And it's not a problem at the beginning. It just takes a little practice. If the string is not prepared, you will create a gap and you'll have to cut the string and start over again because it's stretched. So with a pearl string or any string you want to use, you want to wet it, find a weight, something, pliers, I don't know, something heavy, and string it up like in the closet on something. So overnight, so it stretches and dries overnight with a weight on it. That will take all the extra slack that's embedded in string and stretch it out. So when you beat it, it's already stretched and you'll get the right amount. And you don't want it in exactly tight against each other. I would use like a binder clip before knotting it, especially at the beginning, to work with it. If it's too tight, it's going to be hard to move the beads. You're going to want there eventually to develop a little gap. So it's easy to get your thumb between the two beads. You don't want too much of a gap. Then it's too hard to move your thumb between the beads. And sometimes you don't get it right. You cut the string, it's no biggie, and you try again. It's practice. Okay? Sadly, you need the stretch in the stretchy string, and it's going to stretch out. Mine's stretching barely at the limit. I may have to redo it and do it a little differently, and then you learn. Okay? So when the beads are clear, you put them in front. When you already got them, it's a sacred act to make them. So you have your shrine lit. I would pray. I would get in it. And I would have them in front, all dry with the string, everything ready to go. And I would do your mantra over them. Before you even apply, you do the mantra over you. You're present. You light the incense. You put incense over them. You ask God to bless them. And you could put your right hand over that because you have that vibration in you, and you put it and you say, God, please bless this. And you're extending the energy from your body, which you've also maintained with your practice. And you bring in the energy. Now, people who could see energy and they have a certain amount of practice will see that the vibration of the stone will have changed. And, with time, that is possible, and it does happen. Keep your mind open. Then you use whatever mantra you use. Now, so these prayer beads are used with the names of God. So what's your main one? So you say that over it, and then you very mindfully, and this is a very sacred practice, you put one bead in after the other. Now, you already have them chosen which one you want. You've counted like 10 times because that's just me. I just really want to make sure I have the right amount. So you know there's 72 there. And you put them in one by one. And as you hold each one and you string it, you say the name of God as you're holding it and you're looking at it. And you put intentionally the vibration in to the best that you can. Then you put it in. And you use the name of God that you currently use. And you do that for all 72. So until you get the right size, I would use a binder clip. Just Google it. And that really holds the string really well. And do something, to hold it in place, but not make a knot until you kind of got it. Yes, it'll get in the way a little bit. But that way, when you do put the knot in, you've got the tension correct, and it'll increase the likelihood you won't have to cut it. And if you cut it, you redo the same thing. You put in the name of God as you restring it, okay? When it's there together, then you hold it in both hands, and then you say the name of God over the whole thing, and you ask God, verbally or in your mind, to have His Spirit, His energy, have the Shekhinah into it. So it may help you connect with Him, that it can help have that Shekhinah that you can carry with you if you choose to wear it during the day or when you're ill. So you ask it, Yahweh to empower it, to make it more than just stones on a string or wood on a string. Stones hold energy better than wood. But then wood also has their qualities, and a lot of people are drawn to wood. I've stuck with crystals because I get the crystals plus name of God, and crystals have properties. And as you could see, there's a wide choice. There are hundreds of crystals. I don't know how many different ones they make of beads, but there's a lot of beads going on. Try to find the right size online. If you can't find the right size for you, then find the size that works, normally 1 millimeter below or 1 millimeter above. So for some reason, the even ones are not being met, and it's to the millimeter. It really is. What works is ideal is literally at a millimeter. One less, one more, because you're using the thumb and the fingers does make a little bit of a difference. So if you get a millimeter below than what you need, I would send an email to the person and ask if they could find a string of beads that tend to be bigger. And yes, it is possible. Some will actually restring you something. I would say, it's for prayer beads. And some people will be like, oh, it's for sacred use. And they will make it the right size for you. And if they don't, they'll normally find one bigger. But you might have to order more and then select the larger ones in the bunch, because they're not exactly always all the same size for some strings, okay? So then you have it, and then you infuse it, and you hold it in both hands, and you blow on it. That invites the living breath into the mala. It infuses it with life energy. The mantra does as well. It was held in your hand. It infuses it beyond a mineral that has its mineral properties, and now it's vibrant, alive, and infused with the vibration of God. Yes, these are all real things. This is how you create a sacred object. You do not worship it. You do not think it as a manifestation of God, but you can see it with time. As you use it, you will feel it will speak to your heart, because you will find its blessings, especially if you choose the right one for what you need at the moment. And you will feel the vibration through your practice and the names of God that you put through it. Because when you hold it and you do your practice by God, you do feel that vibration. And that's in it. And you will feel that it helps unlock energy in your body, make your mind more still, release tension or illness, and bring you closer to Hashem. It's a tool. At the end of the day, it's a sacred tool. But because you put the name of God in it, you treat it highly, respectfully, because you're inviting the Shekhinah in it, whether you realize it or not. And especially if it's a crystal, it holds energy. So the energy of the Shekhinah will be in it. Trust me. Just like when you wear rings with the name of God, inscribing the name of God in the ring invites God's presence, invites His Shekhinah in it. If you pray over it, bless it, hold it over your altar, the Shekhinah is in it. Let's not fool ourselves. So you treat it respectfully. You put it in a bag. If it's, there's little prayer bags, little mala. It's called mala bags, prayer bead bags. Beautiful ones online. Find a nice one that speaks to you. Hopefully the color will work with your beads, or a deep purple. Don't buy a black one, please. Deep purple works well. A nice orange one for a citrine. A green one if your bead is green. It's quartz, all sorts of colors. But be mindful, does the colors speak to you? Does it add to your practice? Because when you open it to practice, the color affects your mind, which starts your practice. Okay, these were little basics I wanted to touch about, because people, I think, are making them. And I'm sorry if it's a little later, but, if you've already made it and you haven't done that, then you could just mindfully cut the string, or don't. Just add it, infuse it, and it's already infused and empowered, then for next time. All right, so that's all I am speaking to. I wanted it to be clear. So I've spoken a little much. I have notes. I don't know what is in there. That's for another day. we're going to start our practice. So we are going to stretch. I just didn't want to delay saying this any longer. I've had a lot of things I've had to do, so I didn't get to it sooner. And I didn't think of some of the things that's been accumulating in my mind for a little while. I'm like, I haven't said a few things, so here it is. So we're going to stretch. So first thing, we are lighting our prayer space. If you haven't done so, and put up our incense. I would start that before you even stretch, because that creates presence. And when you stretch, you do it mindfully. I am preparing my body for my prayer. I am preparing myself so I could hold a posture for a while. I'm preparing myself so the energy can flow in my body. So what I'm holding that I should not hold is released. So I can purify, so I could better connect with God. Everything we do is to connect with God and to better connect with Him, to heal our minds, our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, so they're aligned with the Shekhinah. So our tree of life finds its balance. So if you saw the beautiful Aleph tree of life, I have a small version of it on my prayer space. That with the orange and everything, what it symbolizes, presence of divinity, is the basic structure of our body. There is divinity and perfection within our siphirots, our chakras, our everything that goes on, our minds. But we have layers on top. So it's not that we're constructing something. We are not building something. It's a very important point. We are not constructing anything. We are just like archaeologists, removing everything that is on top. And it's not only what we've accumulated in our lives. You know, we all, on our families, have genetic issues, propensities of our parents, the energy of our mother when we were in the womb, when we were born, when we were brought home, or our parents arguing when we're 2 months old. We don't even remember, but our body takes all that and it affects us. Yes, when our genes are together, there's, who knows, there's energetic propensities that occur. But at the core of it is perfection, always is. God's perfection, the cathedral within, is always there. I'm going to repeat it. The pure cathedral within, the Shekhinah, our pure soul, God's pure presence, God's complete connection with us, is always there in us. That is a truth with a capital T. Take my word for it. It's a thing. So we are not building something to connect. We are remembering what's within us. We are connecting to that frequency that's within us. This is why stillness and mantra and release is so important. The stretching, because we're allowing things that aren't, first thing, they're not, well, I'm not going to go into real, means it's not static, that it's not unchangeable and immutable or permanent, right? So we're allowing things that are impermanent to leave. That's not the basis of our building block. We're going to the floor, the core of who we are. So by releasing everything, we connect more and more with the Shekhinah that's within ourselves. Okay? This is deep stuff. These are ancient truths. It's not just me. You uncover it. And this is why one's practice becomes easier and easier with time. Yes? Because as we uncover it more and more, we're able to touch in with it easier and easier. We're able to feel it, even if at all. At the beginning, it's very hard. And that's why I encourage people, keep going, keep going, keep going. Because you will feel it. And then your practice easily will go an hour and a half, 4 hours. You'll want to go off in the woods somewhere and just spend a week and practice. Phone off, internet off, and just be in that space. Read books, sacred books, maybe listen to HP Shalom, do your prayers and just be in that space if you're able to handle being alone like that. And some people need, take a day or two and build up to it, right? Or some people just launch in, like me. I would just launch right in and not want to leave after 2 weeks. And you hear the birds, you find the place next to a stream, you take walks in the woods. If you have a dog, take your dog. If you have a cat, you take your cat. You're not distracted. And you bring all your food with you. So 2 weeks, 2 weeks worth of food. Stock up that fridge. Make a list. It's part of the prayer. Make sure that you have enough for 2 weeks. And if you're 3 days from the end and you see you're running out and you could make it with what you have left, then I would be like, I got to economize a little bit. And that's part of your practice. But you want to eat well. You want to eat well. You want to have some of that cake too when you're there. This is not some sort of tough thing to push through unless you really want it purifying. And then you keep to certain things. But this is not supposed to be, you go in, relax, you treat yourself well, you sleep well. Unless you want one that's more intense. And then you don't do that. But you're mindful. Your body might go through things, and if it's too intense, you could leave early. Be healthy. I'm not going to give full instructions. I don't know how I got roped into that thing, but you grow deeper within yourself. So we'll go retreat instructions another day. So that's partial. Don't go hopping off now until I give full instructions, please. It sort of, I guess, showing what it is. But as you go deeper, you connect. And then 2 hours, 3 hours. Oh, this is how I got into it. A couple days intensive is easy to do and wonderful, because you have connected to that space that's within, which is the God that we feel is without or above or distant. Do you see the approach God approaches? We are working to approach God with his energy. This is why we do all of these physical practices. If God and that energy was not within us, then these would be health things. So do we see the importance? So we're going to light our shrine and we're going to begin. But now by understanding and me repeating certain things again in a different way, now you see it. So as you work with it, one understands the importance of persevering, of, working through the blocks and waiting and hoping you feel something, which could take a while. But that's part of the process. We've spent our whole lives blocking off our thoughts, our energies, accumulating things. So it's not going to be in 5 minutes or a week or two. It may be, or even a couple months, but it may be really fast. And this is one reason we use the name of God's, because we're really infusing a divine energy. It's highly blessed. Many people have used this name over the centuries. So it's very empowered names on different levels. And especially if you consider the name sacred, it creates a state of mind in your subconscious and conscious mind, which further connects you with the names. See where the names appear in the Old Testament, in the Tanakh, in the Torah. Google it, and then look at those passages and see how it's used. That helps you understand these names and the sacredness and power of them. And change is fast. This is why we do mantras. It's a fast way. It's a safe way. But if you feel overwhelmed, don't push. If a lot of things come up from your youth, trauma and pain, and you need help, go to a therapist. Please go. I did therapy for 1.5 years. Best 1.5 years. I still feel deep gratitude to the person, the woman in New York City. If you know who you are, I say hello. And thank you. There's no shame in that. We sometimes, as we go and unearth, things come up and we need help. Or we hit a very depressed space, which is fine because things we're going through are depressed. It is fine to use antidepressants to help you along through that journey. I myself have done it several times for periods of time. And when I'm beyond it, I stop. There's ones that work. There's ones that do not have weight gain associated with it. But now there's also a Ozempic to help with that. You do it intelligently. Please do not rush. We do this intelligently, with sanity and with care of ourselves, that we don't become so depressed that we want to hurt ourselves. We don't become so depressed that we can't function. We don't become so depressed that we make bad decisions or feel anger or whatever, and then we act out on that anger. You see, then you slow down on your practice, or you find a different name that actually calms the anger. Name that perks you up out of your depression. You see, there's a whole host. Or we just stop for a while. Allow it to settle. Then we continue. And that is part of the path. Sanity. And if you need help, you don't know what to do with your practice, go to a therapist and explain what's going on. And if they say maybe you should stop for a while, maybe you should stop for a while. There have been periods that I have stopped for a while. You could still pray to God in a normal way. Or maybe see if the Aleph helps. Or the name Abba, I find. Just saying that, I found all my energy release and my mind just became calm. Just saying it once, just now in the middle of a sentence. And so we learn. So when I go through these stretches and what's going on with me, remember, I've practiced for a while. Don't mimic everything that I do. There's different levels on this call. Just listen and like, oh, well, I just did the basic one for the first time. Let me spend a couple weeks working on that. But now I know the next step and the next step. Oh, that's a lot. Whoa. Okay. Well, he said, only be careful of this one. I'm not just going to jump in and do that one. And if you do, and you unlock too much energy and you feel really off and agitated for 3 days, well, then you've learned the lesson and you also know what it's like to unlock a little more energy, which happens. But then you also get the skill on working through it. And the first couple times might be a little scary, but then you learn what to do and what to do to bring it down. I have a whole teaching over the summer. I want to say last June, July, or in the early fall. You will see it. I've clearly marked it, I think, on what to do about energy or energy too fast. But we go slow, okay? But I'm going to share what's going on, and we're going to walk it. But there's a yellow flag. Work up to this, right? And experiences that seem out there, please keep an open mind. A lot of these experiences are in classical texts, but it takes a while. Just remember, I've done this for a while, okay? Let's hop to it. Sadly, I cannot see any of your comments. It's just what it is. I heard there's a lot of comments on YouTube. I cannot see them. So I can't see what's going on with you guys. Otherwise, I'd be able to. But, sanity, intelligence, caution, no rush. Take it slow. All my teachers said, take it slow. It's a saying, take it slow and you will soon arrive. When you drive recklessly, things happen. It's an even path, and there's a lot of resources. Find a good acupuncturist is really important, I have found. It helps rewire the body. It's nuclear medicine. Find one that's trained in ancient ways. I would not find a young person. Sorry, I know they need to be trained. They can train other people. Not when you're doing this. You need one that really knows. And, you'll know when you're in front of one that really knows his stuff. And how do you feel afterwards? If you feel better, more aligned and healed, and it looks like, wow, this is great, then good. If you feel off, you might call him and say, I feel off. It might be part of the process. But honestly, I've only felt energy leave my body during the process. Sometimes the needles, when I first started, were literally hot. I felt energy radiate out of my body. Things I had trapped. I had trapped a lot. And afterwards, I felt calmer. It's supposed to help release, not agitate. So use your common sense. Massage is helpful. You release to connect within. And within us, we find God. Okay? We pray and we realize and connect with God outside of ourselves. Okay, so we're lighting our shrine. So you could look at the archive online, and especially when I discuss mantras or how to handle issues, I'm sorry there's not as much description in the last year. I'm going to work with that backlog, but often from the title, and there are some descriptions and a lot of description from the up until last July, I think. So, it's all there. It's all taught. It's all explained. And, it's a resource. I can't repeat all the time the same things. So I touch in, sometimes more thoroughly when it's really important. But there's also other recordings touching on similar topics now. There's a good year and a half of so much that I have said, and it's all offered to you. Especially if you're new, don't be overwhelmed. Hop in if you feel called to the extent you can. And then when you have time, go back to the recordings and see which ones speak to you. And then maybe eventually you will listen to all of them. So now we've lit, and now we're going to stretch, especially the legs. But if you need a little stretch in the upper body, we'll do that. So since I've already spoken for a while, but I thought it was really important to say this stuff again. We're just going to spend a couple minutes. So hit the essentials and we're going to get going. remember to breathe into the tight areas, and with your mind on the exhale, just invite the energy to leave. So you breathe the tension and then release. You'll be able to feel it. Even if you're holding the tension by the breath and saying release, you will actually feel the energy release from the area in a deeper way. And then as you deepen your stretch, you continue doing that, especially the legs, reaching to try to touch the toes, having your hands on the leg bone. But if you're able to touch your toes, you do that. And if you can go beyond, you move your face closer and closer to your legs, inviting that stretch, but it's slow at your pace. And if you have the ability, as you release, if you're able to enter that space within that is luminous and clear and fresh with no thought, then you enter into that space with your stretch, that aligned, balanced space. And then you've already entered that sweet spot to begin your practice. So the stretching is the beginning of the practice. It's not something necessarily you consider before, though you're doing it before. But your practice began the second you prepared to go and light your prayer practice. So everything you do, getting your water, little tea, washing your hands. You always have your hands clean when you approach your prayer space before you touch your prayer beads. You start doing it mindfully. Be present. When you put your phone on silent, if you can, you're present in that. All that is beginning to still your mind and to connect before you even sit down in front of your prayer space. Because then when you start practicing, you're not working with an as agitated body, and you're already in presence with a capital P to a certain extent. Now, if you're agitated and you're hitting your prayer space at 1,000,000 miles per hour and your emotions are everywhere, that's fine. And it's great you're entering your prayer space, because then you could work with it. And it becomes a source of healing and a source of calming. And you, in a way, bringing it to God for his help, his healing, and his blessing. And God wants that. God is with us 100,000%. He's there to help us and guide us home. He's there with the outstretched hand. So when we come in, all whatever beschweveled, that's perfect. Because as opposed to spinning out, we're actually coming to heal and not act out things or perpetuate it, but to come to God, to find the connection that solves problems or issues, or bring our problems to him and share them. Enter into that relationship and saying blah, blah, and blah, blah, and oh my God, blah, blah, and this, and I'm so upset. God, help me in this situation. God, give me calm, blah, whatever, calm, peace. Help me to communicate better. Please help shift this situation. That is prayer. That's a communication. That's an engagement. That's bringing God into your life. We have human lives. We bring in our humanity, and then we learn the techniques to connect deeper and develop the ability and the tools that these situations resolve themselves by how we engage with them in different ways, how to remove ourselves, how to reach out for help, how to learn to manage our emotions so our emotions do not manage us. Notice the difference. We manage our emotions, and our emotions are not managing us. We learn to be in charge of our minds, our bodies, our thoughts, our actions. And that's by connecting with the still place within us where God inhabits, connect in ever closer ways, and also helps us to release all the tension within our bodies. Ultimately, a lot of the issues we encounter is because our glass, our batteries are saturated beyond 100%. And as we clear it and release below 100 to 75, 50, we're able to accommodate things in our lives more and more because we're not so overwhelmed with that last drop. There's a saying, it's the last drop that overflows the glass. Well, if our glass and our battery and our healing's further along, we can accommodate a lot of drops because we have the capacity to. So do you see all the different levels just by praying, by doing the practices? It's 100, it's holistic, it's 360, it's complete. Okay, stretching, breathing, relaxing. So stretching, move this microphone. Breathing, relaxing. It's very powerful to do it all within the nose. When one develops the ability, this breathing is done. And you hold it a little bit. You feel the tension build up, and then you relax. And you feel the relaxation sometimes happening throughout the body, not even the place you're stretching. Remember the pressure point I mentioned last week with the thumb at the inner leg? Even when you're like 2.5 inches above the knuckle, you already feel it. You'll see it. It's a pungy place. It's like a tendon or some muscle, I don't know. And it's, you feel it. It's, if you push in, you will feel it. Sort of middle way down the side of the leg on the inside. And then ultimately, it's in the right before the little inside pocket, right below the ankle bone. Not straight horizontally down. It's a little closer to the top of the leg, but press in a different spot and then you will feel a little pungy area. And that's where you press in slightly. And it's a pressure point. And it sort of activates things in your legs that help move the energy. If it doesn't feel good for you, don't do it. It's a little more advanced. Well, normally they teach these things at a more advanced level. But I had a teacher who taught it right away, and I'm not exactly sure why it's advanced. It's probably necessarily not. Some of these teachings were only taught when students were very far along, and that's not necessarily necessary. It's just tradition. It makes the path much longer, I feel, than it needs to be. And people get discouraged, and you don't necessarily have 20 years. Issues are happening today. And I had a very great teacher that made everything up front. And there's a whole tradition that moves everything up front and within reason. And it helps. And it moves things along in an easier way. All right, so we've stretched and we're going to begin. So your prayer beads should be next to you if you use them. I have a little wood floor, and it clangs on the bottom when I move them because it hits the floor. So I have a piece of cloth. between them and the floor so it doesn't hit them. That puts energy into a bead. It's fine that they cling against each other, but hitting the floor disrupts the energy that prayer beads accumulate, and it's annoying, and I just don't like it, and I don't think it's right. So I put a piece of cloth underneath so they don't hit. Also, I don't have them directly on glass or the wood because it's cold. Cold removes energy from materials. So I have it on top of the bag that I carry or on top of a clean handkerchief or piece of cloth. So it doesn't necessarily hit cold, and it remains at room temperature. Yes, and if the room tends to be cold in winter, I put it inside a bag or something. It keeps the energy. I have mine open because it blesses the space, and the type of mineral this is, it holds its energy quite well. It's not a quartz. And quartz I had tended to have out because it emanates an energy and it emanates the blessing. So I tend to have it out, but sometimes after you're done, you could put it back in the bag. That really incubates the energy because there's no light, there's no air, it's in a cloth. That allows the prayer beads to maintain its energy in a more dense and strong way because it sits with itself. Therefore, energy doesn't leave it, it remains within. And when you take it out, it's like, wow. And if it hasn't been taken out in a week or two, you're like, wow. And you feel with time, as you become more sensitive, the blessing that it holds. And it becomes a very dear part of you. Your house is on fire. You will grab your passport, family pictures, and everything. And I guarantee you, you will not forget your prayer beads. Because they become that special, that sacred, that empowering, and that healing for you. And it's out of respect. It's out of the power they hold and the assistance that they bring to you in your practice to connect with God. You see how they're used as a tool. Yes, it's not an object of worship. Okay? So, okay. You're in your position. If you're using prayer beads, they're in your hand, left or right hand, doesn't matter what works for you. I discussed it a week and a half ago. A little bit about that. Drink some water. So today I'm not going to have them in my hand when I do this, just for whatever reason I don't feel it, but it can be in your hand. Put them down if they're not in your hand, if you're in there in your hand. Put your palms, especially if it's early morning, palms facing your face, and just gently rub your eyes with your fingertips. You will see tension in your eyes, obviously with your eyelids down. Gently in a circular motion, clockwise, I find. Yeah, definitely clockwise. And maybe rub them in different ways. You will find a relaxation. How does that feel? I found a lot of tension leaving my eyes. We use our eyes a whole entire day. And by doing this, it balances the energy in our brain. In our head, extremely important. The eyes are right next to the third eye, third eye is between the two eyes and above, and it connects with the crown chakra and connects our energy up to God. It's different ways we connect with God. So, very important. We take some deep breaths. We could put our fingertips together or not. To do this, I'm going to do more of a classical pose today. This wants to, microphone stand wants to move all the time. Okay. Oh, I see what's going on. There we go. It's just so many little turns on this thing. There we go. All right. Perfect. Now I'm ready to go. So it's okay. You take time, to adjust your space because you don't want it to distract when you begin. It throws you off. So now I feel a little tension in my legs again. So I just go in for another quick stretch. So all this is part of a prayer. Even if we haven't technically started in quotation marks, because we've taken the time to connect with God, and that connection has already formed. And we're preparing to work with our bodies to connect and to heal. So I'm going to have my hands on my kneecaps, which is where I keep them, but now I just changed my mind on where my hand position will be. So I've literally changed my mind 3 times. You work in the present moment and how you feel. And things could literally be changing from moment to moment. And that is fine. If you choose to have your hands by your side, well, actually, if you're using prayer beads, you should have it in your hand. Okay? And you have it in between both palms, and you notice I rub them a little bit like this, and then you're going to blow in them to sort of warm them up, okay? This heats them up, and it sort of puts life energy in them. Sort of, you'll feel a little warmth. Mine are now warm, and it's different. So put your hands together. Angle of the fingertips, relax. Steady the mind. So traditionally, when you start a prayer, you say the Shema. So it's Hear, O Israel, Adonai is God, Adonai is one. The word Israel here doesn't so much mean the country, it means all those who believe in God. the people who believe in God. That's what the term means in this prayer. So it's Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu. God is one. Adonai is God. Adonai Echad. God is one. It's a very sacred prayer. It's been said for centuries. So it could be sung or it could be said. So you could say it in English. You could say it in Hebrew. There's power in saying it in its original language because of sounds and the way the language has been constructed from its beginning. So I will just say it. You could say it along. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So for me, the whole space changed and things became very calm. I apologize. I have not had the time to put Hashem on here. Find your hand position. We're going to begin. You do the practice you feel called to. You could weave in mindfulness, also the Aleph, right? So now I'm feeling a little tension in the lower back. So I'm putting my hands with the palms facing, the fingertips facing the spine on my lower back. And I kind of move my chest out and up a little bit to provide that stretch as I'm slightly pushing in with my hands, kind of popping out my stomach. And then I find tension now in my shoulders and things are beginning to pop because I'm holding a posture and things are relaxing because I've said the Shema, I've prepared, I was mindful as I started, even when I was speaking to you. That all releases energy because our minds are calmer. Do you see how calm I'm speaking now? How much softer? How much slower? And I'm literally now feeling energy draining out of my body. Now I'm in full lotus, and that's a posture that allows energy to drain very well. But any posture works, and it takes a while to work up to full lotus if you can. Do not rush that. It took me to 2 to 3 years, but I was very tight. But energy drains. And as you feel it, just move it and allow things to pop. It's popping because it's a little out of alignment or there's tension that needs to be released there. So we're not actively going for a pop or a crack, but they happen. And they happen because things are aligning and muscles are relaxing. And it helps with the energetic flow. Putting my hands above my head, palms forward, not touching. And I'm putting the stretch up a little bit on my spine, which helps the Kundalini move up. Yes, it's real. Energy moving up the central column. So our little Merkava chariot, our little energy at Kingdom, moves up towards Keter. So the Shekhinah is able to connect. So we move our energy up our bodies. So the divine energy above us connects and comes down. It's Jacob's ladder. Okay. Does it make sense? Jacob's ladder is literally our spine. Does that make sense? As well as our road and as our path. As we connect psychologically with our actions. So there's many different levels. But on an energetic thing, it's the energy that's in our body that works up our spine. It's where our spinal cord is. Sort of makes sense. And now I put one hand, the right hand, above my body and one behind in the same position. And I sort of twist my shoulders, left shoulder. I'm doing the left shoulder first. So right hand in front, left behind, shoulder facing the back. Slowly my head turns and I sort of do a twist. That helps release tension in the lower spine. If you have spine problems, please be careful. If you're very tight back there, go slowly. This is where acupuncture and massage comes in. Deep tissue massage. It's not a light, fluffy thing. I never understood that, but I'm also a man who likes more intense massages. But it has to get into the muscles. Now, other side. Left side up. Right side, hand behind, and just give a little stretch. Very nice. And then I kind of move from left to right. So if I'm moving to the right, my left hand is sort of fingers touching the spine on the left hand lightly, wherever the position feels good. And I just move a little bit to the left while keeping my legs on the ground. If you're using a half lotus, you might need to adjust the legs so it fits good for the movement that you're moving. And then I go to the left. Now, as we do the next one, if you feel called to do this, you have to judge for yourself. I'm just giving the full thing out there. As you do the stretch to the right, and your hand is there holding sort of the spine, but it's on the meaty area, the muscular area. That's sort of in between the side and the spine, but the fingertip should lightly touch close to the edge of the spine or a little bit on it, but I would just be close. You'll find the spot. You'll find the angle of the hand. When you stretch, left hand there, I'm going to the right again. If you feel called to start on the right and you're on the other side of the body, that's fine. As I stretch, I'm going to breathe into the place where I'm being stretched, where I feel it, light breath as I go down, and then I'm going to hold it a little bit. It's not to have a lot of tension and holding, and then I'm going to exhale. So you feel it, and then I'm going to exhale. Then I'm going to move up a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely up, vertical. And then release the tension, then go down again, and then exhale. Do you see? You go down, hold it a little bit, breathe in, and then exhale when you're down, and see if you can continue the stretch. And then you can also stay in that position. You inhale, feel the tension where you are. Exhale, see if you can go a little deeper. I hold, and a lot of people hold, a lot of tension in their lower spine. Okay, so let's do that for a moment. You could also move the left hand over your head, off your spine. That will add to the stretch. But if you can't, don't push it. You can pull something. You have to work up to it. If your body is cold, then your muscles are cold and you can tear, and it might feel very stiff. So, you learn how to go about it, yes? And if you feel you need to move your spine in a different way, or get up and then turn it a little bit, or put your hand there to help release something as you move it, you do that, which is what I'm doing right now. And then I'm moving to the other side. So I have drawers on the left side, so I couldn't go as deep. So I moved my hands above my head and I did a little twist, and I was able to release the energy that was held there. We're doing this because our upper body and our legs, it all needs to flow. Where we have tension, we have a block. Yes? And now again, I'm putting my feet out to stretch. So take a moment to stretch real fast. So if you need a glass of water or you need to go to the restroom, you do that. Do you see how the practice is fluid? It's open. It permits things to occur. It's a rhythm. Yes, it could also be more disciplined, but you don't want to have holding or needs in you, because that creates a block to let go into the flow that we're generating, to let go into that open space, to let go into a current that we generate that is linked to God, to let go into the Shekhinah. So as we practice, we create optimal conditions to practice in, and we allow us to make the conditions perfect, or as perfect as we can, as it goes along, to create optimal conditions to have quote unquote success, to have a connection. And if we don't, that's still success, because we've put in the time on the road. Yes? So take a moment or two and do what you need to do to create that space. Make sure the room's not too stuffy. If it is, you open a window. If you're a little cold, turn on the heat. If your kids are making noise, tell them, please be a little more quiet. Mommy or daddy is doing something, and I need a quiet. Go to playtime. You create your environment. You take charge of yourself and your environment to help in your practice, to deepen your practice. When you are more advanced, it doesn't matter. And it's actually part of your practice to work through it, because that builds strength. Because it's sort of, that makes the truck on the bumpy road, it has suspension. It's not a problem that you're off the road, you see? Because you're able to handle the bumps and weather the things, and that creates strength. And as you weather it and you deal with the bumps, you realize you're in the Ferrari on the same bumpy road, but it feels like a freeway. Because ultimately, it's all in your mind, in your resistance, in your lack of knowledge and ability to weather it. And as you develop the skills, you begin to realize it's the resistance that I put to it that creates a lot of the chop. The situation might not change. Our thoughts might not change, but our relationship to them, how we engage and react to it, changes. And when we learn to maintain that clear space of awareness through situations, we're able to see the wisdom on how to act, not act, engage, or just noticing what's occurring. And then the Ferrari becomes the Learjet. All the time, still on that bumpy dirt road through backcountry. But it feels like we're at 50,000 feet and we're just cruising along. Doesn't mean, pardon my French, the shit is still not happening. But the way we engage with it, it's much more empowered, conscious. And we can invite God as our pilot, as our core pilot. And the ship can be us riding our Shekhinah, the Merkava chariot, as we go through our lives. And then that Learjet becomes the starship. Yes? So as we train here, we create, it's not a training, we're actually doing it, but it's also a practice. We develop skills and abilities. And so we create optimal situations so we could focus at the core or essence of the skills and our connection to divinity that we're developing, okay? So take a moment and make your situation optimal for you. Extra cushion, move to a chair, adjust to a different posture. The glass of water's too cold. I need tea. But we're coming back in 2-3 minutes, 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, okay? But you do it mindfully. You've begun your prayer. So you maintain that sacred space within you as you do this. That also is a practice, one that I haven't taught yet, I don't think. You see, it's mindfulness. Take the Spirit of God. We've just done the Shema, right? You need to say it again, do it. You could say that throughout the day. It connects us, right? The connection, the holiness, the sacred. Take it as you do what you need to do, as you adjust. And you see, it creates an energetic imprint in our minds, which deepens, and it trains our minds and our emotions as we're active. Working with movement and action is an intermediate practice. But it's a practice we could do at any time. It's a skill that we learn to master. We maintain God 24/7, the connection, the best we can. We're going to the Merkava chariot and riding it, being next to it, close to it, touching it, and then we're on it. And I think that would be the starship. Yes? If you do not know what I'm talking about, go back to the teachings about 2-3 months ago. I explain all this in great detail. So let's take a moment. we see how this is all fluid, right? So I had an intention for this morning to make it quick, and then I realized it's learning how to go about creating a space of practice. Because ultimately we grow through what we're doing now. This is the heart of it. This is the road. Yes? And as you see, it doesn't need to be tough and rigid. It needs to change and adapt for what we need, what's occurring today in the moment, and we work with that. We are not resisting our energy. Resistance creates blocks. Excuse me. We work with it, and we learn to manage it and release it and see what's skillful for where we are today or where we are overall in our practice. And we use what's right for that. And by doing that, we quickly arrive. We quickly grow. Because we're flexible. We use our intelligence and our knowledge. Yes? And see, as I was speaking at the end, my mind released and I let go into a clear space, and I felt the energy go up my spine into my third eye, which it was really there for a while anyway, but I really felt it. And that pause was where I popped through. And then a form of prayer is remaining in that place for 15, 30 minutes, an hour or two, which is a place of communion that's available to all of us, and without particularly holding any posture. While you're speaking, while you're hearing yourself to what you're saying, to make sure it's correct and you're not misspeaking. You see? So I'm pointing things out so people see what's possible and realize, oh, that could happen. And then you learn to work with where you are, but you know kind of somewhere how to position yourself and fine tune, because something was shown there and you realize there's something there. I'm going to excavate, clean off a little bit in that dirt. Why can't I touch into that space in that moment? And then you realize I don't have stability. I can't remain mindful. My thoughts are too scattered. And then you might do more sitting practice or more mantra practice. Do you see? This is why I point things out. Feel very conscious about doing it. I don't like personally doing it. And by God, if it were ego-based, or because how great am I would never share, because that's a toxic poison. So for me, and just not good for energy for the group at all. And I probably wouldn't teach, or I certainly would not share at all. So I'm mindful to where I am. Always be mindful to where you are, and what might be skillful in the future might not be skillful in the moment. And you realize, why am I doing something? What's my intent? What do I get from it? And that's working the path in your life. And you learn to work it with greater and greater alignment with Merkava chariot radiation, a sort of emanation from the chariot. You're living in a certain way of being that increasingly becomes more and more aligned and proper and skillful in the way God intended us to be, and in its an ultimate perfection is the way we were in the Garden of Eden, before our energies separated from a complete connection and living in the Shekhinah, the grace and energy of Adonai. Yes? Great. Oh, this has become much more profound than I thought it would be. But now you see why we do what we do. And now we're going to hop in, because I desperately want to do my practice. It's my favorite part of the day. And it makes the day unfold very differently. So, legs up. We have words you can do on the screen, names we can use. I'm gonna bring up my little meter. Okay, make sure sound's coming through okay. And I haven't moved some of the teachings to the video section of YouTube, so it's a lot of the last month are in the live section if you're looking for them. I'm going to work hopefully this weekend on editing them a little bit and moving them over. Okay. So we're going to put our hands together, prayer beads in hands if you're using it. If you wish to say the Shema again, you may. We're going to start with mantra. So it could be one word name, several names. What's on the screen are suggestions. Use what you feel works for you. Hopefully at this point you have found that. And it can change spontaneously to different ones. And you might not even realize it until you've been saying it for a while, because you're in the flow. Or it sticks with one, it goes to multiple, it switches to the Aleph, goes back to mantra. Yeah. Doesn't matter, it's all practice for God. But if you look in the energy of your body, it changes things within you depending which one you use. And it helps where your current is. And with time, it will just change on its own. You will just see the shift because your body knows the different ones. And there will be a certain energy, if you notice, and your body has shifted to that. Often you stay the more powerful name that works with you, what you need. At the beginning, for me, it was multiple names. Now I use maybe 2 or 1, or just go to the Aleph. It changes. But you will see, once you have awareness within your energy of your body, there will be a certain energetic signature with you as it shifts. And normally at the beginning, it's harder to start. And as things get lighter, as you do the practice, your bones are cracking, energy's releasing, you're twisting a little bit, and you're feeling things realign, and you're releasing tension with your breath all throughout your practice, because things are being released as you redo our practice, and that's a sign that it's working and healing us, and things are relaxing and energy is leaving. As we do our practice, we find that we're able to change to more and more names of essence. One name, and then the Aleph is easier to do at the end of the practice because it's very simple and it's more energetic. But we've worked with our energy and we find and released a lot that we're able to connect with that because we've emptied our glass and we're calmer, and therefore we're more sensitive energetically. So there's often a progression. Yeah. All right. So beads in hands. we begin. I'm going to say the one that I use a little bit first to set the tone for the group. And of course, I say the name very respectfully. This is a prayer space, so I feel appropriate to say it out loud. And it's a very sacred name, and therefore I hope it blesses all of us and creates an energy that helps us connect with God. You could also add the name Rapha, meaning healing, or that heals. So if we say a name of God or a combination of names of God and add Rapha somewhere in it, probably at the end, it brings in that healing quality of God. And with the prayer beads, it doesn't need to be one name for one bead. Your beads could just be moving at whatever rate you wish. Or it could be one at a time, which infuses the name in each bead. Or you're moving it through, which infuses the name anyway. Okay, so it's really up to you how you wish to do it. Right now, as I'm speaking, my beads are moving. Why? I don't know, but I'm already entering into prayer and the beads are moving. You see, you let go into the flow. And that's what makes this practice so special. You're in retreat, you bring out your prayer beads, and next thing you know, as you're walking around, they're moving in your hand. And next thing you know, you're saying the name of God, or they're just moving, and you're feeling the energy of it. You're letting go into a current, and it's beautiful. And it holds us, it nurtures us, it carries us, heals us. And ultimately, it's the current of the Shekhinah. And it's our birthright. It's our heritage. And it's amazing and gorgeous. And ultimately, everything that HP Shalom stands for is hopefully to help us all connect in ever deeper ways with the Shekhinah and with Hashem, Adonai, Yahweh, Elohim, Emmanuel, Abba, the many different names we use to connect with God. Right, my speaking is over. Stretch, and we're launching in. Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh Rapha. Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh Rapha. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh. Abba, 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 Abba. Yahweh Rapha, Abba, Abba, Yahweh. Hashem. Open, let go, relax, let go. names, release, let go. Ultimately, you just say them inside, in your mind. At the beginning, you could say them out loud, but ultimately, you say them in your minds, the thought, and you hear the name from your mind, and you feel its energy in you. And you say it at the speed that it comes out. Mindful how it affects you. It should feel good, aligned, proper, not make you feel unbalanced. If it does, you have to assess, is this something that it's removing something from you, which is more advanced? You need to understand energy in the names if you use it in that way. Or maybe you have to switch to another name. We're working on relaxing and releasing energy to become more present. The name shouldn't amp you up, increase, and make you twitch and agitated or overly energized that you can't control it. But if you're depressed, then that might be a very good sign that it's bringing you up from that, and maybe you found the right name. So it's supposed to help us bring us back to center and to balance. If people feel more agitated, hard to calm, the mind is upset, or a lot of energy flow, which happens, the name Abba, very spacious and open. I highly recommend you say it a few times or many times, or it becomes your practice for a while. Abba was my main name for a while. The clarity, the openness, the spaciousness, the cleansing, warm, welcoming, but open, calming. That's a name to consider for that. Yes? And the beads can just keep moving, because even if you're not consciously saying a name, and I'm speaking while they're moving, let me tell you, there's part of my mind that I'm sure is saying a name. And at the very least, me moving it puts out the energy of a name, because it's associated with me saying a name. And as I move it, my hands are moving through a bead which is infused with the name of God, and therefore the energy of what I've infused in the prayer beads are being released. Take my word for it. So do we see different levels here? This is getting profound level. A lot of these things. That's why I love these teachings. Deep teachings. Profound teachings. I find them fascinating because it just opens your mind to whole beautiful levels of being. This is why sometimes when people are agitated or on the phone with a difficult conversation, they take out their prayer beads and they just flip them and move them with their fingers. And it helps center and ground a difficult conversation. And they become an ally, an assistance. Yes? Let's go back to our practice. We can mix up the names as we feel called to, and we learn. And once you get mastery or some abilities with one name, it takes a while to get the first one, or it happens very fast, depending or not. Don't want to put ideas in time frames or energetic blocks in people's minds, but also to be open that it takes a little time sometimes. For me, it took a little time at the beginning. But once you have one, the other ones come very easily. It's more of that uncovering. you get closer to the energy. So the first one has that work to get you closer to that space to connect. And then the other ones have a lot less to work through. And so it could be quite fast with the other ones. So be encouraged. There's no disencouragement here at HP Shalom. I'm a cheerleader with the little foo-foos at the cheering line, cheering everybody on and telling you all, yes, you can. And people like me and other people who are listening, who have certain abilities, are putting out an energy to uplift and to help. And that's the power of group practice. And even if we're not doing a group practice, know that the help is there, always energetically. And God is there in the practice to infuse it and to help. You are not doing it alone. You may be the only person in your neighborhood doing this, but you're never alone in your practice, and God is always with you. Always remember that. And you could always reach out. This just merely helps clean up that phone line, clean up that copper wire. So when we connect, we're like, oh, I'm connected. You develop that hotline, that red phone, the hotline, right to God. You don't even need to dial. You just pull it up and you're like, God, problems here. Oh God, I love you. And you're there. We all have the hotline to God. This helps us discover it, helps us reconnect it. And ultimately, we discover that we always had it. And it was always working. And God was always there, whether we realize it or not. So now we practice. Yahweh Wafa, Yahweh, Yahweh. Abba, 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 Yahweh, Abba. Abba, Abba, Yahweh, Yahweh. Shem. And at some point, or we might hit a place where we just, our minds stop and we're in that centered place. When you hit it, find it, drop into it, you'll know. And then the mantras stop sometimes. And you rest there because you're in the Shekhinah. And there's nothing more to be said or to do but to rest in that river of the Shekhinah, that flow, our life force, bathed in the Spirit of God. And then we may say names of God while in that place or not. So, for example, I said a bunch of names of God, and then I said Hashem at the end, and my mind stopped, and I popped into the place of stillness. And I also felt great stillness in our group. And then we rest there. And we can rest there. And that's part of the prayer. If there's discomfort in your body, you stretch mindfully. If you're saying the names of God, you can continue saying them as you stretch. And with time, as opposed to doing the in and out, you could infuse the name of God where you feel the tension, or add the name Rapha and see if that helps with a release. Where your intention goes, so goes your energy. So if we put the intention at our attention where our energy is, and we say the name of God in that place, directing it to that area, and with our minds we can do that with practice. We put our intention, our desire, our will, wrong words, our thought, our intention, our thought of what we would like, better way of putting it, of healing, relax, and release. So we would say, like, Yahweh Wafa, Hashem Wafa, Adonai Wafa, or the name that we would use. And so we're bringing in our mantra in everything we do, or we just relax and do the breathing, but we remain in that energy we've cultivated. Okay. And then when you go back to your posture, if you're in an open space, you remain there, or you relaunch in a mantra. So it's fluid. Like a river, there are rapids. Like a river, things turn and move. Things are adjusted. And with time, we become skillful. People who navigate our boat, our energy current, and we know what is right at the right time, what skill. Turn the little rudder, turn on the engine, bring out the paddle, slow down, speed up, pull to shore, take a rest for 15 minutes, hop on, or you're done for the day and you set up camp. So we learn and we go with the flow, and with the flow comes the release, the healing, and their connection. Because remember, we're letting go to connect, because the connection is within us. Look at the Aleph tree of life. that's on the website, if you haven't printed it out. There's a lot of truth in that. It's very true. Really. Take my word for it. Let us practice. as we're doing this, remember to breathe. Your head position may move. Let it do what it wants to do. Move horizontal, could move higher than horizontal. You may feel you need to really blow out energy with a and often a lot of energy is released through the breath, through an exhale. And we could feel called as we're doing the names of God. Energy becomes unlocked because the name is entering into our bodies, and things that are not of energy compatible with the name is released. And that's why we feel tension leave. That's why when we move, we might need to stretch more, or as we move, we feel cracks, because things that are not aligned with the sacred vibration of the Shekhinah is unlocked and released. And so sometimes the breath, it's released. And as we release, we relax and let go. And we could feel energy sometimes radiate, emanate from our body. It can feel as heat or just waves of sort of, I don't know, we feel we're emitting something, and that's energy being released. This is the healing that occurs by saying a sacred name of God. And our prayer beads help anchor us in our bodies by the physical movement and the blessing that they accrue, that enters them with time, which in turn helps our body in a physical way as we say the name in a hearing sort of way through our ears, or we hear it as we say it in our minds in a different way. So that's energy, but the physicality of it is in the prayer bead as we move them. That too releases energy through our body and through the bead into the space, which also enters us. See, and then we relax. And we relax. Breath, relax. You could feel your back becoming straighter. Yes. Some of us might feel energy moving up our spine as we relax. You can feel our minds becoming more quiet. Feel the energy going up into the head. Past the eyes. When it passes the eyes, you often feel the mind flutter, the eyes flutter, and lights, sort of a light flashing in the eyes as the energy moves up. And then the third eye. And then the top above the head. So all this occurred when my head was horizontal. And then when the energy passed through the third eye into the top of a head, my head naturally went down and looked at the shrine. I became at like 30 to 45 degrees because the energy was lifting, and so it was moving up. So my head went up. Sometimes that happens that way. And then when it passed, I felt an energetic release, and so my neck went down. So with awareness, we see how things work with our bodies. And breathing helps and allow things to flow. Now, it takes a while before you have such experiences, but there's many different levels in this group. So I just put it out there as a possibility of what could be an experience. And people may have different experiences, but this tends to be typical for those who have cleared up sephirotes and are able to enter into a central column way of being, especially during their practice. We let go, we align, we release, we align, we open, we release, we pray, we say the name. Connect. All right, let's go into our practice. I'm going to stop speaking for a while. Let's do 15, 20, 25 minutes. I don't know, maybe 30. We'll see. Remember, the Aleph is available if you choose. I put it up on the screen as a blessing. Sacred symbols carry blessings, visual blessings. Reminder of God's presence. I've used an older version that I'm beginning to like better again. So feel free to adapt what works for you at home. I'm still working with the image. If people so choose, they can move on to the Aleph, and you just look at it and see, try to feel the energy from it. There's an energy, soft, golden, radiant, cool, or whatever energy you feel from it. But it's very real and alive and deeply nurturing and connecting. And your openness, just feel, let it infuse in your body like the names do, and see if they radiate out. It becomes you, you see it. You can see if it's, feel or see it at your heart area, God's symbol there, and open yourself to the divinity it represents. The divinity, the Yahweh before creation, the Hashem that always existed before creation, the eternal presence of God, the God of all, of everything, perfection, love, shalom, peace, wisdom, full healing, alignment, the source from which the Shekhinah emanates, the embodiment of the Shekhinah. But it's pre-embodiment, just to be technically correct. It's spacious before form. It's what it represents. Presence before there were symbols. The presence before we can call anything presence, because it transcends everything we know. And yet, it's at the very heart and core of everything we know. Let's continue.
תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו, טהרנו נורא. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו, טהרנו נורא. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו נורא. נא גיבור דורשי ייחודך, כבבת שומרם, ברכם תרם, רחמי צדקתך, תמיד גומלם, חסין קדוש, חסין קדוש, ברוב טובך נהל עדתך, יחיד גאה לעמך פנה, זוכרי קדושתך, שבתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו, יודע תעלומות. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו, טהרנו נורא. שבתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו, יודע תעלומות, יודע תעלומות.
ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
May Hashem's grace and blessing be with us always, throughout our day, throughout our families, throughout our world. Amen. I want to add one thing. We learn with time that our prayer beads become infused with an energy, and we can, depending on the type of bead, we can put it on our bodies, and we will see that it helps us feel better in the energy or put it on our heads and we feel a release and realignment, hopefully, if it's a bead suitable for that. And it's a tool we can use for healing and alignment and feeling better. It's an assistance. So that's an additional way it can be used. And even if we do the Aleph, we could still have it in our hands if it helps with our alignment. And if it doesn't throw us off, if, for some reason it's too cold or it doesn't feel right for that practice for that day, but if it's at least neutral or it helps, even the Aleph practice infuses into the beads as well, and it becomes a container of energy that's there in a very physical, tangible way to assist us. And I wanted to raise one thing which I've noticed, and I just want to mention it. So I'm beginning to see on my Facebook feed Aleph teachings. They're not mine. My teachings are on my Twitter page. I don't believe I have a Facebook presence for HP Shalom, and if I do, I don't use it. My X page, yes, and it's on YouTube. As far as I know, there were no modern Aleph teachings out publicly before I spoke them. Look, I do not pretend to have a monopoly on this. However, I've noticed that there's a certain energy to them. A flame is mentioned. They tend to be highly conceptual. And different words that carry certain energies, and they take a certain authority over it. It's an open teaching. People will take it where they may. It doesn't mean necessarily it's the way I would go about it. And, we have to use our wisdom and our intelligence when we encounter things. And they could have a certain frequency. And they might lead to a certain somewhere. Ultimately, the Aleph is Shalom, peace. It's not conceptual. It's a connection of energy. We should not, from my perspective, not turn it into a thing. It's a current we tap into and rest in. Anything more conceptual that I have spoken about it is to help with our understanding so we know what it is. And once we connect and have that understanding, ultimately, it's not to conceptualize it. It's beyond conceptualization. It's beyond time and space because it's before the creation. It's the essence of what God is that we cannot conceive. And the symbol itself is only an aid to help us connect with that. The symbol itself may be sacred because we've made it the symbol of God that has no sound, but ultimately it's a symbol. God is not a symbol. It helps us connect to an energy that it represents. But ultimately we connect with that energy that's represented by the symbol. And ultimately, that is all the Aleph stands for. Yes. And then there's teachings of God that are based on the Torah. That's what HP Shalom stands for. I believe that's the traditional teaching on Alephs, and I will do more research on that, because I'm learning too. But, it's now out there, and people are picking it up. And there are some truths and helpful things in what I read, but there's also a certain direction and a certain framing and certain pictures that I don't necessarily agree with it. And they carry currents, and they could carry agendas or ideas or ways of perceiving that might not be fully aligned. Ultimately, it's our practice that matters. It's our ability to connect. Understandings of mind are transitory. They're not the path. Let's not get locked into our minds, because energy, releasing it, aligning with it, that's how we connect with Hashem. That's how we connect with the Merkava chariot. That's how we ride Jacob's ladder. Understanding takes us so far. Wrong understanding aligns us with wrong energy currents, which can lead to wrong thoughts, wrong ideas, wrong actions, which leads to bad mitzvah, which leads to disconnection, which leads our sifrotes out of balance, which cuts us off from Jacob's ladder, or we don't go as high up, and we don't feel the Merkava Shekhinah to guide us as much, or at all. Not saying that specifically about anything that I see, but that's just understandings in generally. So we must be mindful. One reason we pray and say the names of God, because they're pure. It's the name of God. Right? Take my teachings even with a grain of salt. Do not swallow them. If you come with trust and you feel it's well deserved, then leave an open mind. Ultimately, everything I stand for rests in the names of God. It's the complete path. Everything I say is to help us connect with that. And ultimately, we stop needing teachings, because we're in the current. The Shekhinah, the chariot, is beyond teachings. That's where we wish to be. At some point, teaching may be out of curiosity to grow, because we have an interest in it personally. But the path, the attainment, the walking of it is through our actions, our mitzvot, through how we treat each other, and through our connection with the Shekhinah, with God. That is the essence and the core. We have to be careful over conceptualizing, because that is the human mind, not our conscious inner mind. And ultimately, that limits us. And we can think that's all we need. No, it's merely a roadmap, but we have to walk the road. So, things are appearing online. I wouldn't necessarily recommend searching for them if you haven't encountered them. I don't know. If you feel called to, then do. But be mindful of currents, of concepts, what they might stir in you, the direction. God is the Shalom. Peace, tranquility, connection, Shekhinah. Wisdom, coolness, embodiment in love. It's subtle, it's soft, yet it's awake, it's wise. It acts as it needs to in alignment with the Shekhinah, all of which is a current, a river we walk. And the means is to do our practice, not to understand it. I think I've said enough, and if I share more in the future, it's to help us connect with the current. The teachings are not all. It's me trying to point at something. Yes? So I just wanted to say that. Always be mindful and aware and careful. There's good, and then there might be currents in it that one's not aware, or there's a lot of good and take the good away from it. Always you are in the driver's seat of your car. Make decisions and learn. I learned some things from those posts. But then there's things I'm like, oh, I worry about my students on these elements. You know, the 5-10%, especially when you're beginning, the awareness to understand what's proper, what's not, what is slightly out of alignment. When you're further along, it doesn't throw you off because you're in the flow and you're like, but this is good. But that takes a while. So be aware, you choose what you listen to me, what you don't, what you want to do, what you want. I offer. So I offer. Ultimately, we each walk our own journeys. And may it always be blessed. May it always be wise. May we always walk with God holding our hand, guiding us, the Spirit of the Shekhinah, and the names of God, and our prayers and the Torah is always there to bless us and to guide us. Amen. May God, Hashem, Yahweh, Adonai, all his names, his many manifestations, all embodied in the Aleph, all embodied in his love and presence and shalom for all of us, rest with us forever, guide us, our world, and our families. Amen. Thank you for joining me this Thursday. And I think I will replay this on Sunday. It's really important for everyone who wasn't able to make it. But if you feel so called, I welcome you to listen to it again. It helps us, I think, to understand better and gives techniques and guidance and little pointers along the way. Ultimately, it's to help us connect with the flow of the river of the Shekhinah. And ultimately, that's the purpose of everything I teach. And ultimately, that's the path of our lives. Thank you again. I wish you a wonderful day. Bye-bye.